for joining us here on Enlighten Up. You are listening to episode 4, Good Vibrations, Energetic Mosquito Repellent, and Michael's First Vision. That's right. Later in the show, Michael's going to share with us his very interesting vision that he had while trying to meditate. This is his first experience, so it kind of freaked him out. So I can't wait till we can get into that story. But first, we're going to talk a little bit about energy, vibrations, why we want to raise our vibrations, and what that means about being on different frequencies. We also talk about 2 authors, David R. Hawkins, who wrote Power versus Force, a book that we all highly recommend that you read if you're interested in this stuff, as well as the author John Holt, who wrote The Underachieving School and How Children Learn. So we touch on these authors and books later on in the show, and we kind of screwed them up, so I'm just putting those there for you as well. The information will be in the show note description below, so if you need that information, you can check it out there. If you have any questions that you would like us to answer on future shows, please send them into our Twitter at enlightenup.us, or send them into our email info@enlightenup.us. So without further delay, let's jump into the episode and see what we all had to say. Hello, and welcome back to Enlighten Up. I am Nicole Frolic, and I am here with Michael Ronayne and Lisa Watson, my beautiful and fabulous co-hosts. How are you both doing today?
Fantastic. How about you?
You know, I'm drinking some red wine, so I'm feeling pretty good.
I'm on the West Coast, and my parents are looking at me weird because I started drinking tequila early just to catch up with you guys.
Yeah, you're on Pacific time.
Now they think they legitimately think I have a drinking problem, and I'm like, oh, well, I told you.
Oh, so they've seen the truth, is what you're saying.
Mike, why are you drinking tequila at 4 o'clock in the afternoon? I'm like, it's 7 o'clock my time. Like, oh.
I've drank every day for like the past 10 days. I need today off, actually.
Oh, are you drinking like lemon hot water?
I'm drinking alkaline water right now.
Oh, there you go.
Get my vibration back up here.
Oh, well, that's a good segue.
Water. I stumbled over alkaline water this year. Like, someone goes, you should be drinking that. I'm like, why? What are you talking about? What the hell does it matter with the pH of water? I'm like, oh, it matters big. And then, of course, I went and Googled it, and I'm like, holy crap, why didn't anybody tell me this?
Did you not know?
Are you trying to raise your vibration then, Michael? Is that what you're saying?
No, it has nothing to do with vibration. I mean, we'll talk about vibration in this, but
let's talk about it right now.
Like part of the pH part, was like how it like gets you more hydrated like 6 times faster than normal water, and like, you know, and it really does knock off a potential hangover real quick. So you're doing good.
Oh, like those are the important parts. Yes, the knocking out the hangover.
That's the reason why I spent a little bit of money on the old pH balance. But yeah, I mean, it's a good segue, I guess, into vibrations, which I guess was I stumbled into the last episode and brought up. Was that true?
Yes, I believe you did.
The culprit. All right. Well, you guys are the gurus, so go for it.
Well, Lisa, since you're the one drinking the alkaline water.
Good vibrations. What does that mean? I mean, we've heard songs about it.
I'm like, yeah, isn't that a... Who sings that song?
Was it Marky Mark and the Funky Bunch?
Oh my God! Isn't it the Beach Boys?
It's the Beach Boys. Yeah.
That's right. I was thinking of. Okay, you're right.
You should know that, Beach Boy.
Oh, I was thinking. I mean, I grew up in the '90s, really. So Marky Mark was my man. Not whoever the Beach Boys were.
I can't believe you just admitted that.
I mean, the '80s were quite foggy.
Well, the reason I started drinking alkaline water was, recently, and Nicole and I have talked about this, but I have been trying to raise my vibration, meaning that just, trying to vibrate at a higher level so that I can be more connected with, spirit and the world beyond 3D. And apparently drinking alkaline water helps you do that. It, cleansing yourself of all chemicals and things like that help to raise your vibration, as well as not eating meat and anything that has
a soul,
chemicals and additives and things like that. And just trying to keep your body clean and pure is one way to help to raise your vibration. But, ultimately, maybe we should just talk about what vibration is before I go more into.
Why is it good to raise your vibrations? That's what I would, if I was just listening to you two, that's the first question I would ask. Why is it good to raise these quote unquote vibrations? And what is technically vibrating?
So, well, Michael, you had talked about, I'm not sure if it was in the last episode, or maybe we haven't really discussed it on the show, I'm not sure. But just about some of the experiences that Nicole and I have had, whether it be, Jesus in our room, or visions during meditation, or, seeing energy coming out of things, or, being telepathic and all that stuff. And one of the things that's going to allow you to have those experiences is to get rid of negativity. And that basically is what raising your vibration is. It's allowing that negativity to slough off so that you can vibrate at a higher, less dense level, so that you're, I don't know, Nicole, I think you should.
Okay, yeah.
You should jump in here.
Let's talk about frequencies here.
Are better at it.
Okay,
Go
ahead. Frequencies, and this has been tested, and there's a great book out there called Power versus Force. I can't remember the author, but we're going to put it in the show notes.
Hawkins.
Oh, yes. Stephen Hawkins, right?
Yeah.
Hawkins. Okay.
Right.
So that was one of the first books I was given by my naturopath to read on, and it's a pretty, well, at the time, I thought it was an intense read. It was really scientific. But so it outlines for you the energy, vibration, or frequency, I should say, of certain emotions. So for instance, fear, judgment, resentment, guilt, all of those resonate below the level 200. Anything below 200 is a really...
200 what? 200...
I don't know. That's the number they give. The number 200... is it hertz? I don't know, Lisa. That I actually don't know.
I think it is megahertz or something like that.
Okay. We're going to double check that. But, so hatred, judgment, fear, all of that stuff is really low vibration. And if you think about energy vibrating, if it's a lower vibration, it's going to move slower. As things get into a higher vibration, they start to move faster. So when you start to feel things like, for instance, just let's think about time. When you're happy and you're having a great time, time goes by so fast. But when you're, say, at work and you're bored as hell, time can go by really slowly. And it's because you're in a different energy frequency that is causing you to perceive time that way. Does that make sense, or is that really out there?
That makes sense. I just actually Googled it, and it says vibration frequency is hertz. And it refers to the number of times a vibrating object vibrates per second.
Okay. Oh, that's good. I didn't know that. All right. So, when you start to move up the ladder, so to speak, you can think of it as a ladder, I guess. And
I'm sorry to interrupt. What technically are we talking about is vibrating? Are we talking about on a cellular level or atoms, or what are we?
Energy.
What are we talking about?
Okay, so you're made up of energy, right? So
Right.
all of your molecules, everything that, and even on the level that you can't see, the level that you can see, and the level that you can't see. So everything, right?
Okay.
When you think about atoms, right? You can't see them, but they're
right.
Okay.
But they're going crazy. I know.
Yeah. So when you start to move up beyond those feelings, and you start to move into things where, such as acceptance, laughter, joy, happiness, love, all of those start to resonate at much higher frequencies. And when you do, everything starts to move faster. So your energy, your atoms, everything starts to move faster. And the reason why Lisa and I are wanting to raise our vibrations is because when things are moving faster, within you, you now are resonating at a frequency that you can see beyond the third dimension, which is where all the judgment and the resentment and the hate and everything that we see in front of us is resonating at. So your angels, your guides, loved ones who've passed on are in the fourth dimension. You raise your vibration up into fourth dimension, you now are able to see things. So when you raise your vibrations, you're able to see the things that you can't necessarily see when you're in the lower frequencies. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Okay, I got questions, but I kind of want to wait for you to continue.
No. Ask them.
Well, it has more to do with like, okay, so did you guys, meaning you and Lisa, start off at a very high vibrational rate going when you were kids because of like the things that you experienced when you were young, where somehow, I guess this is the topic of today, where I was kind of dumbed down vibrational wise and didn't join in what you guys were like enjoying and seeing out there?
I think personally for me, when I started my path with the Course in Miracles is when I started to raise my vibration and doing things like staying away. Television, I've just never really been into. I've stayed away from mainstream media almost my entire life, the best that I could. And staying away from those types of things and exposing yourself to like higher vibrational like conversations that are, maybe about spirituality or just clean, joyful things that bring you happiness and bring you joy. That's going to help raise your vibration. As when you're exposing yourself to negativity, like, news and TV shows that have a lot of violence in them and things like that, that's going to lower your vibration. So while I was on my little, my Course in Miracles thing, doing the lessons every day, keeping my mind full of only pure, clean thoughts every 15 minutes, doing a lesson, not eating. I did like that fast for 10 days. I think that's what jump-started me in having my vibration be raised, which, I think in later years it started to kind of slow down a little bit. But so that's why I was trying to raise it back up again.
Interesting.
Yeah, like with the news, I was told to stay away from that when I was 21 from my naturopath. And she's like, just stay away from it. It's all fear-based. It keeps you in a lower vibration frequency. And it's true. I mean, you can watch 2 minutes of the news and
it's so true. I mean, like I literally was I was addicted to news all the way up until until Barack Obama won his second presidency. And once Barack Obama won his second presidency, and it just like the news is so chaotic, and I'm like, I'm done with this. I'm so done with this, and I stopped watching it. I don't think I've turned on a 24-hour news channel since, and it has been, despite what we're talking about, even if I never met you guys, my life is so much better. My happiness level has jumped up a whole chapter or whatever chunk just of not watching the news. And I don't think it takes a person that needs to know about vibrations or not to know not watching the news is actually a good thing, or at least the news that is on TV.
mainstream media
Yeah.
is definitely a no-no. Okay, so that's a good example though of you raising your vibrations. So you notice that you are happier. That means your vibrations are actually moving faster. You're resonating more in that happiness frequency
this
range.
is where it gets kind of crazy. This is where our conspiracy theories can kick in on how the population is, or there are certain people or things in the population that purposely try to keep us completely on a low vibration.
Yes.
Yeah, and I really, again, to the audience, 2 months ago, I wouldn't know what the hell I'm talking about right now. Just because I've known Lisa and Nicole and a few other people, it's like, okay, it does kind of make sense. Where it's like there's so many things out there purposely getting us
down.
to get us addicted to dumb us down.
Yeah.
Yes.
and then which makes me think, which unfortunately with my skeptical brain, I start thinking everything's trying to dumb us down. You get so like paranoid on like, why are you saying this? Why is the government doing this? Why is the that commercial on? I mean, everything you feel like is just trying to dumb you down. Why am I drinking tequila? Maybe it's trying to dumb me down. Things like that.
Yeah. Well, yeah. There's definitely that factor in there as well. That's for sure.
I don't know if I mentioned it in my first in the introductory podcast, and I don't remember, but I homeschooled my kids, and
just sorry to quickly interrupt, Lisa. That is something that I personally think, after what we were talking about, schooling, the educational system is purpose. This is going to sound horribly like I'm. It's
a conspiracy
paranoid,
theory, but it's true.
It's a conspiracy theory, but I feel like our school system is dumbing up.
Oh, totally.
As bad as that sounds.
1,000%.
Well, I was going to say,
from kindergarten all the way to graduate school, dumbing us down.
John Holt wrote a book called, Dumbing Us Down. It is what
it's literally called Dumbing Us Down.
Yeah, it's really what got me on the path to homeschooling my kids. When I read that book, I was like, oh my gosh, he's totally right. And just, the whole grading system and all that. And I ended up, homeschooling my kids through 10th grade. And, there was other things involved. They raced motocross and they, wanted to have more freedom and whatever. But, I just am so happy that I did that, because I just feel like there's so much more well-adjusted, because they weren't programmed with all this bullshit, for so long in their lives. They're just much more open and mature.
Oh, they probably got life skills as well, which you don't get in school.
Yeah,
I also
and they're just so much more accepting of people is what I noticed about them. It's just like they never learned about the clique thing. Really.
Okay. You're. This is so hilarious, Lisa. You are like stumbling over like some real life stuff for me, because we always looked at those homeschool kids as unusual, strange, but God dang it, they were the most brilliant people ever and the nicest people ever. And then we were just a bunch of angry teenagers that our anger was like, oh, that's just hormonal. That's just all it is. And we were just angry and nasty and mean and bullying, and the homeschool kids that actually, like the homeschool kids that were homeschooled from kindergarten until 8th grade, then joined high school, because you in this stupid country, you have to join high school to get into college or pass a certain test. So they joined high school a lot of times, and they were like completely like out of place with all us a-hole, kids.
Yeah, they just.
And we were a-holes. I was an a-hole. I feel bad for a lot of things I did when I was a kid. I was just like, ugh.
I just think a lot of their time isn't wasted in judging. You learn to become your own person. You learn to accept yourself as who you are, and you're not always comparing yourself against everybody all the time. And I just think it provides a really great foundation. And the book that John Holt wrote wasn't called Dumbing Us Down, but he spoke about that. He used that term in his book. He wrote many books: How Children Learn, How Children Fail, Escape from Childhood. Lots of John Holt's great.
Can I tell you a funny story about judgment when you were a kid, or when I was a kid? I don't know if I told you this, Nicole. All the random stories of our lives that we told each other, but this was an interesting, funny story that I'm like kind of embarrassed, but it is humorous. When I went to a private school for high school, and my parents sent me to private school because they were Catholic, not because they were rich. So I went to private school that was Catholic, and most of the kids there were extremely wealthy. My family, not so much. I was there to go to church on Fridays. So anyway, because we live in a life of judgment when we're young.
Oh, yes.
I was embarrassed about my family's wealth or thereof. I would get my friends to take me home, but about I'd say a half a mile from my parents' home was this beautiful, gorgeous, giant mansion that overlooks like a whole bunch of things. And so I always had my friend that took me home. He's a good friend of mine. He took me home all the time from sophomore year until early senior year of high school to the mansion.
Oh my gosh.
He let me out and I walked home because I didn't want him to know where I really lived. That's how much judgment kicks in when you're a kid. I was like,
wow.
And like,
did he ever not just come knocking on your door?
He's still a good friend of mine today, and we crack up about that story a lot. But when we're kids, I was living in a fear of judgment. I was living in a fear of like, because school is judgment.
Yeah.
You know, if you're not valedictorian or salutatorian, you're being judged. If you're not number one in this track team or basketball, you're being judged.
Yeah, there's so many cliquey groups that form through school. Definitely.
Clicks, yeah. Oh boy. Anyway, sorry to digress the conversation. It was just entertaining.
But yeah, no,
you really didn't, because it's about vibration. That's what we were talking about, and those are the kinds of things. You're absolutely right that there is this group of powerful people that do want to keep us dummied down and keep our vibration low. I mean, maybe that's another topic that we can get into later, but it's true, and we have to be aware of that, and we have to take responsibility for our own self and want that for ourselves, and not just let mainstream media and schools and teachers, what's that bumper sticker, question authority? Absolutely.
Yeah, like it was funny today. Okay, so I was driving into the city today, and I was listening to the radio, and they brought up this thing about eating and how it's important to eat your food in a certain way. Like, so certain foods you shouldn't eat first, you should eat them last. And it actually really matters on just like in the sense of insulin spikes, digestion, that kind of stuff. And I mean,
like I heard we actually have to eat salads last. Is that true?
Yeah. That's why the Italians eat their salad last. They're smart. The Italians know their food and their digestion.
And that's why the Russians have vodka with their meals too. It helps you digest.
Yeah. Yeah.
Water's bad to drink when you eat.
Good job, Russians. Which I heard all the time, but I drink like a half a gallon of water every meal. I got to quit that apparently.
So the reason why is drinking water before your meal, you dilute all your food enzymes to help break down your food. So you don't want to drink too much right before your meal is what. But okay, so getting back to my point is that, these things I knew about like 20 years ago. And when I would talk about them, people would just look at me like I'm crazy. Like, it doesn't matter what you order you eat your food in. And I've always been an advocate for health and going against like the pharmaceutical companies and the food companies and the food industry, I should say. And I was always ridiculed and laughed at and just like, oh, Nicole, you and your conspiracy theories. Well, like 20 years later, guess what? Now it's become mainstream and everyone's accepting it. And that's why, if there's anything I can say is that when you hear something and you think it's a conspiracy theory, more often than not, there's probably some truth in there. And it's trying to get hidden. And I totally believe that conspiracy theory, the whole term conspiracy theory, was designed to steer people away from the truth. Like, so that you would be judged as a lunatic if you even spoke about it.
Yeah, because you're supposed to think like everybody else. Yeah. They're trying to just get everybody to think the same and believe the same thing. And you're just, looked at if you do something different, like homeschooling. When I homeschooled my kids, it was in the 90s, and it's very well accepted nowadays. It's a lot different, but when I did it, it wasn't very well accepted, and everybody looked at me like I was kind of crazy, like saying your kids aren't going to be social, and aren't you worried about their social skills? And I was like, actually, that's the reason I homeschool, is because I am worried about their social skills. I don't want my kids turning out just to be robots and only being able to communicate with people their same age and, being so judgmental. And your
kids, and Lisa, your kids were the ones that I was like looking at when I was young with the homeschool people. They were like some of the smartest people ever, but like they were just like socially unaccepted. You know what I mean? Like if you weren't in this clique that was formed in the third grade, sucks to be you.
Right. Well, luckily my kids didn't have that problem, but
Yeah, I know. Thank God. You have awesome kids. Love your sons. Haven't met them yet, but love them because I just love the way they speak to you and communicate with you. They're just awesome.
I do have the greatest kids.
You do. But, okay, so let's talk about truth and vibration. So as you start to raise your vibration and you start to resonate at that higher frequency, you start to recognize truths more. So you don't just take in what's being spoon-fed to you, like say through the mainstream media or something like that. What people are just telling you that's been socially accepted. You start to question things. You're like, well, that just doesn't feel right. Well, the reason why it doesn't feel right is because it's not resonating at that frequency where you're at now, which is getting higher and higher, where truth lies in the higher frequencies, right?
That makes total sense, because that's like when I started doing the Course in Miracles at, a young age, that's when I just naturally started not wanting to watch television anymore. I couldn't stand hearing it. Definitely the news, even the newspaper would annoy me. And then commercials like that. This was before, the internet and Pandora and things. So I would have the radio on in the car, and I could never listen to the commercials. I had to turn them down.
I gotta imagine internet has made it so much worse.
But it's like, just like Nicole said, it was vibrating at too low of a level for me to handle. Like it made me feel really uncomfortable. And I feel that way now about obviously certain things, just like, this is going to make you laugh, but like going into a Walmart. Like I can't go into a Walmart. Like I just feel like there's such low vibrational levels in there that I get really uncomfortable.
I don't think you need to believe in what you guys believe in to know there's low vibrations going on in Walmart.
It's not just their prices that are low.
No. Yeah, Walmart's the one place where, like, I'm just stuck in underwear and need to buy clothes and look like a sloppy mess. I can go in Walmart and nobody would bat an eye.
Yeah, but, I mean, I'm just saying, be aware of that. Like, okay, so why do I feel uncomfortable in this situation? Like, maybe when you go into a certain bar or, a restaurant or something, and something just doesn't feel right to you. It's probably because there's energies in there that are lower than what you're vibrating at. And, be aware of that. Don't slough it off as, it's something else. Pay attention.
Okay, that's a good thing. Okay, so, people will often say, oh, I just feel really heavy today, and sluggish. And that is low, dense energy within you. Like, that's what you're resonating at. So there's if you were feeling, that's why they say, oh, I just feel light and happy, light on my feet today. Well, that's exactly where it comes from. Like, so, when you walk in somewhere and the energy feels heavy, that's not a good energy.
So one more question on vibration, because I think you guys did a good job of just describing vibration and why it's good and whatnot. Now you both don't eat meat, or Lisa, you eat some meat, don't you?
I recently became a vegetarian about 3 or 4 months ago, but prior to that, since I was 18, I did not eat red meat or pork. I only ate chicken and fish. Okay. And then I recently decided to get rid of the chicken and the fish in an attempt to raise my vibration even more, to just to feel more connected.
Do you feel like there's a difference? When you drop chicken and fish, did you feel like there's a difference?
I started spewing light language, if that means anything.
Yeah, sure.
No,
well,
seriously.
The reason why I question is because you got Jesus over there talking about fish a lot and what we read about, and so you would think that his vibrations are pretty up there if you want to look at it that way. But he was fine with drinking fish. Or drinking fish,
drinking wine,
drinking fish and eating wine.
Nicole actually explained it to me that, when an animal is killed, there's trauma there. There's fear. The animal feels, whether it be pain or fear or trauma, so that's passed on.
Yeah.
So you're eating that. Now alcohol has 0 vibration. It's not it's not good. I'm not sure.
Well,
why
is it good or bad, or is it?
Okay. So here's
is
the
it good
thing.
or bad?
No.
or is it neutral?
Okay, so your intent on what you put into everything really alters what you're eating and drinking. So, for instance, one of the things that I noticed when I went vegetarian back, I guess, I'm going to say 9 months ago is when I went vegetarian. I first of all, I lost a ton of weight, which I didn't even know that I was going to lose that much. I didn't even know I had that much weight to lose.
To the listening audience, a ton of weight means 11 pounds, but continue.
13. But
it just fell off. It wasn't like
I didn't do anything. It wasn't like I was still working out the same. I was actually, sometimes I would be eating like ice cream, because, okay, so I stopped eating eggs as well. I still eat dairy, but I don't eat any eggs, chicken, fish, or red meat. And for me, I realized that all of a sudden, when I went to go eat pasta, which I don't know about anyone out there, but every time I'd eat a bowl of pasta, the next day I was like 3 pounds heavier. It just like stuck on me. Now, none of that stuff stays on me. It's like my body, it doesn't affect my body in the way that it used to. And I think it's because I've just moved into such more of an acceptance when I don't judge my food as harshly anymore, because I think once the weight just fell off me and I realized, oh, damn, my body didn't really want meat anymore, didn't want fish, didn't want all this stuff, clearly, because I was instantly lost all the weight and the inflammation, that I realized that I could just basically eat when and what I wanted. Now, I mean, I do generally just like to eat healthy. That's usually my, what I do. But, I do like sweets every now and then. And so like I'll eat it and I don't ever feel guilty. If I have a bowl of pasta, nothing happens anymore. And so I realized it's because I don't judge my food the way I used to. Whereas I'd be like, oh man, if I eat this, I'm going to gain weight for sure. Oh, I can't eat this, or I need to portion that, like now I just don't have that feeling. And there's a certain vibration of our thoughts that goes out when we say that to our food, and it literally goes into our food. And so we're eating those negative thoughts or lower vibrations as we eat our food from doing that. Like that's just another kind of layer on top of eating animals that take on the trauma of being killed.
I think that's true for anything. I think the reality of it is that we can eat anything. I mean, we can literally eat anything that we want, and it's not going to harm us. It's our beliefs in it, and even the collective consciousness beliefs in it. But ultimately, I think you should be able to eat anything if you don't have judgment. If you believe that it's good for you, it's like a placebo. If you believe that this is healthy and you believe this is good for you, then it shouldn't harm you.
Yeah. But, for me, the reason why I went vegetarian was because as I started to really go deeper into my spiritual journey, I started to struggle with this idea of the law of oneness. And I'm like, wow, if I really believe in the law of oneness and that we're all one with one another and we're all connected, I go, how can I sit there and say that life isn't the same value as mine and just eat it? And
brought up a new term, Nicole. You're going to have to explain law of oneness.
Well, it's that we're all connected, that we're all equal. No life is better or less than the other, and that goes for an ant to a human and beyond.
What about mosquitoes?
Yeah, what about those? You know what I want to say. You know what I want to say.
I know. Our dear friend Tiffany is like
those godless creatures.
Yeah, she's like, God didn't create those.
Tiffany says that.
Yeah. No, even mosquitoes. Although I have a conversation with the mosquitoes now, and I'm like, you are not allowed in my energy field. So if you come in, just know that you're not going to be welcomed in the most unwelcoming way.
You're gonna put all the repellent companies out of business with this.
Okay, so
no,
I
mosquito.
was just
no. Get out of
I was
space.
just at Mount Rushmore. And with Brian and with my friend Brian, and we were walking like through the woods, like we went off the path and we started going like through this field, and it was tall grass, and all of a sudden I started getting bitten by mosquitoes. It was just like they were all over me. So I was like, okay, this just can't happen. So I was like, hold up. So I put like a blocker around me, like of energy, like I just told them they're not allowed. And Brian just looked at me. He's like, if that fucking works, like, I'm gonna die. He's like, and I didn't get any more mosquitoes.
Yeah, no, it's worked for me. I'm not even lying. Ever since I started doing it, it works. But you really have to believe it works, or else it won't work.
Yeah, you have to believe it for sure.
Yeah.
Cannot penetrate these walls. Stay away.
These good vibrations.
Exactly. Well, Michael, how do you feel about vibration now? I mean, does that answer your question, and does it make more sense?
Did we lose Michael? Oh my God, we've lost Michael. Michael has gone off the air.
I told you I had to go pee on a text message.
We could edit that part out.
What was the point?
No, we're not editing that out.
If you have to go pee, text us so we know. And then I come back going, Michael is off the air.
Oh, I'm not even paying attention to my phone right now. I'm too engrossed in this fantastic.
We can edit that out. I'm so sorry, but
no, we're not. I'm not editing that out. To all our listeners, that was not edited out.
But we are so jumping in what in my opinion, we're so jumping to advanced things, like when we're talking to animals and stuff like that. Let's take that on another podcast.
All right. So what's next? Vibrations, frequencies. You kind of get that now?
No, okay. Let's move on to the visions.
Oh.
The visions you guys, quote unquote, see, which is really hard for somebody like myself to understand. And I don't know exactly what you mean by visions, or like when I was talking to you guys before, I was like saying, could it be a half dream state where it's super vivid? Could it be like, I'm like transfixed into a 3D like dimension where I'm like literally looking at things and touching things? Is it just a thought that comes across your mind? Is it when you close your eyes, or I'll take myself as an example. When I close my eyes and you see black, but it's not really black. You see shapes, you see colors that are flowing through, and then all of a sudden they create patterns and visions. So I'm always very curious with the stories that you both have told me in before we even thought about this show. What is it like? Who wants to start?
Well, I think you described actually many different types of visions, and different people have different types of visions. When I said I saw Jesus in my room, that was something different than I've seen since. I've never seen anything like that since, quite frankly.
No, okay, so let's take that. Let's take that
like
as an example.
Like a hologram. Like I saw.
Like a hologram you can touch, or a hologram like you'd see like on a Star Wars movie with R2-D2 doing a hologram of the message, kind of like that hologram.
Kind of like that, just not quite as crystal clear, and just sort of brief. But I've never really experienced anything quite like that since. For me, when I have visions, usually it's like a movie playing in my head. Like I've had visions of past life experiences that I've just seen through people that I've met, that I've suddenly realized that I've had a past life with them, because all of a sudden this like movie will start playing in my head, like I'm dreaming, but I'm awake.
So I'd have to stop you there and ask you, why would you just not think that is just a random imaginational thought versus a vision? What convinces you that this is a vision, not just my imagination going crazy? Because sometimes my imagination goes crazy and thinks of random thoughts of whatever when I'm looking at things.
Well,
because,
Michael,
like, I don't know. For me, I was just like one night, just kind of sitting there. I was actually just kind of lying on my bed, like resting, and I closed my eyes, and I was wide awake, and I was talking to the person that I was next to, and I was describing to him what I was seeing. I'm like, oh wow, I'm seeing like this picture in my head right now, and I was describing like there's like a horses and a carriage, and it looks like a procession. It looks like it's a wedding, like, and I just described this vision to him that I was having, completely lucid, wide awake, like that doesn't happen to me, very often.
Like lucid, wide awake, you're staring at the ceiling, but you're seeing something completely different. Lucid, wide awake. Is that what you mean?
Yeah, I actually had my eyes closed, and it was like I was lucid dreaming. It was like I was actually having a dream. And I could like open my eyes, and then I don't remember if I still saw it when my eyes were open, and then I just kind of shut them again. But it was just like I was dreaming.
But it feels different from a dream, is what you're saying. It's a dream, but it's not a dream.
Because I'm wide awake talking. Like I'm awake, like having a conversation, like describing this dream that I'm having while I'm having it.
Which totally puts me back to the thing that I was telling you, Nicole, about like, is it like the state where when I'm in an airplane and like I'm sleeping but not sleeping because you can still hear everything. I'm dreaming but I'm not dreaming because I can still be kind of semi-awake. Like when you're sleeping on an airplane, you're not, unless you're like really, really drowsy, you're not kind of like fully sleeping. You're doing the head bobbing thing.
What is that, like the theta, or there's different states, alpha,
right?
Beta, alpha, theta.
Right. Yeah. It's just like you're doing the head bobbing thing. You're kind of unconscious, but conscious. You can hear the baby crying 2 rows up. You can, hear things but like you're kind of sleeping. But you can also dream in that state. You can also dream in that state.
Yeah.
So it's like, like to me, the average kid walking around the block, I would say, oh, it's just a random dream. Where you guys are saying, look into it.
So when you think of sleeping, your brainwave activity slows down, right? So you're more at peace. There's not a lot of activity going around you. So I think, what is it? Beta, that's the slow, is when we're awake, right?
Yes.
And so
alpha is like right before you fall asleep, like.
Yeah. So as you go through those different brain waves, you're getting closer. As you're moving through those, you're becoming more tuned in. You're becoming more connected. So yes, it can feel like a dream because when you're dreaming, that is still very real. And we're taught that our dreams aren't real, that they're just dreams. Well, that's like one of the biggest lies and illusions that we've been told to believe. Things that happen in dreams aren't illusions. They're actually just another dimensional reality. So you can have that experience and it can feel like that, and that's one way that it can feel. Your imagination, again, we're taught that, our imagination, if it goes too crazy, like you said, oh, it's just my imagination going crazy, that like, if you let it go too far, then you're going to be considered a crazy person. Well, when you think about like the great, movie directors who've come up like with Avatar and like, where did they come up with that stuff? Did they just think it? Was it just their imagination? Maybe, like imagination is part of our creativity. And as like we said in our past podcasts, creation is the source of everything. So our creativity, our imagination is the source of everything. If you can imagine it, it exists somewhere. It exists somewhere. You didn't just make it up in your head. It exists somewhere. And there's a reason why you're imagining it. So when you can drop the belief that your imagination is just this crazy thought and maybe a source of creativity for fun stories or movies or whatever it is, then you are allowing yourself to tune in further. And I think this is why, you are struggling with having your visions, because I know you've had one, and we're going to talk about that. No, we are. The reason why is because you deny what you see, and Lisa and I do not.
Okay. With your explanation though, if I imagine it, it exists out there. Is that what you're trying to say?
Yep, somewhere.
So if I imagine that I have $1 million in my bank account, it exists somewhere?
Yep, somewhere.
Okay, hold on. Let me check my bank balance.
Not on this third dimension. It doesn't.
All right, keep going.
So, for instance, when I meditate, I see in my mind like a movie playing, and sometimes the things I see, it's like I've never seen it before. So I'm like, well, where did that come from? For instance, I had a vision last year where this spaceship comes down, descends from the sky. It's a huge circular spaceship, and it's emanating this violet purple energy around it. And then I see like this, I guess, pillar of light come from below it, like we kind of see in the movies, also purple. But instead of like seeing someone come down it, someone appeared right in front of my face, like standing in front of me. And they were kind of like a shadow, but they had this purple energy all around them, and they were talking to me telepathically. And so we were having this conversation telepathically, which for me was weird. I didn't really understand telepathic communication at that point. But in my meditation, it felt right. And so we are walking along the snow, and he's kind of just saying a few things to me telepathically. And then it kind of got a little bit, I didn't know who this person was because they were a shadow. And I'm like, is this a good energy that I should be communicating with? Is it not? Like, I'm not sure. And then the energy disappeared and the spaceship was gone. Like, it just disappeared. And so I didn't know what that was when I saw it, but I saw it in my meditation. Like, that's not something that I naturally just think about in my day to day. I promise you that. So when I went online, I'm like, I feel like I need to research this. And so I started researching, and then I found out about Saint Germain and the violet flame of transmutation. I understood that it was my higher self trying to show me, and Saint Germain coming through to me, trying to show me and teach me about the violet flame of transmutation, and start using that in my meditation, which is then what I started to use going forward. And it's super powerful. So like a lot of times we don't understand what's going on in our meditation as it's happening. Thank God for the internet, and that we have this resource to go and look where other people are experiencing what we're experiencing, and they can share it with us. Because you definitely wouldn't learn about this stuff in school, that's for sure. So like, that's kind of what I see usually when I'm meditating. It's like a movie playing through my mind.
Okay.
But I've also had really intense dreams where when I wake up, I'm like, whoa, there were some messages in there. There were things that I needed to be aware of. Our dream state is the fourth dimension. It's the astral plane. So it's when we kind of come out of our bodies. I don't know if that's the right thing to say, but your consciousness is now able to access that fourth dimension because you're not physically consumed with what's going on here in front of you. So you allow yourself to kind of go into that dimension, and that's what sleep is, like your dreams.
Okay.
Does that make any sense?
I mean, it makes a lot of sense, but the skeptical side would say, well, it was just a dream, and you're saying, no, there's more to it. There's more to this thing.
Okay, well, let's talk about your experience.
Yes, I haven't heard about it yet, Michael. Tell me.
Because, you feel like you don't have these experiences, but you just had one.
I chalk them up to dreams. You chalk them up to experiences. I, along with the rest of the population, chalk them up to dreams.
Do you really think you were sleeping?
I was in that half state sleep, like I was telling you about, like on the airplane.
Okay.
Like, you're just kind of like, you're in the, I can't meditate worth shit, but I've been trying. And, but beyond that, I was like at night trying to do your guys' breathing exercises.
Oh, I'm so proud of you.
Calm your down.
Breath of life.
Yeah, which honestly, I will say to this. One thing I like about it, it is good for your body. Just you can take all the spirituality out of this and just talk about the physicality of it all. It actually really is good for your body. Like after like the fourth or fifth breath, you feel like this cooling numbness, but in a good way, in your extremities, like your hands and feet. So I mean, there's
wait. Cool... Okay, can I tell you what that is?
You
want to know what that numbness is in your extremities that you're feeling?
Oh dear Nicole, please enlighten me.
I shall, Michael, I shall. You are feeling the vibration of your energy.
Cool. Mm-hmm. All right.
That's what your energy is feeling like.
But let's take your theory and just put it off. Let's just put it off to the side. Okay. Not that I don't believe it.
No,
but like just saying, like from someone who has never experienced anything in life, it was kind of an interesting, cool feeling. But like I did get into kind of like that I'm going to go to sleep mode. And all I remember, you know, you have your eyes closed because you're kind of sleepy. And I remember, and it does feel like you're trying to remember a dream that you kind of remember but don't. But I remember this white figure, of all things, this white figure, like an Abraham Lincoln top hat on, with like I can't even, I would not be able to draw it right now because my memory is a little bit vague, but with like a sledgehammer-like thing that he was carrying around. But that doesn't sound scary on the outside. But what it did to me, the hairs on, and I'm a pretty hairy dude, the hairs on my body that went straight out. I mean, like, I look like a fuzzball, I'm sure. But like, it was like, the hairs just stood on the ends. I was scared, like me and you, Nicole, back in what was that crap haunted whole place we went to?
Oh my god! Yeah. Oh Lord.
Which to the listening audience, if you're ever in those cheesy, what was the name of the town in Canada?
Niagara Falls.
Well, it was in Niagara Falls. Yeah, the cheesy,
it was a haunted house.
Haunted house. Well worth it. Go to it.
The picture alone.
Oh my god, it was freaky scary. Lisa, highly recommend it if you ever go up to Toronto and visit Nicole.
I'm afraid that might lower my vibration level. I'm not sure I can do
I don't know. I mean, like, I don't know, but like something vibrated all the time.
So you were scared, is what you were saying.
I was scared shitless, and like it was like something that you kind of wake up from a vivid nightmare. But it was, now, again, I don't want to go deep into like your guys' philosophy, but if I didn't know the two of you, I would have said that was different than your average nightmare. That was different than your average dream. That was like something that caused a physical reaction from me. And I've had many of these type of things in my life, but this one was like in the top 3 of like some nasty element in the world or in the universe was coming after me. And so, of course, naturally, I told Nicole like the day or 2 later, and she's like, she takes it to the next level and says, "Oh my gosh, yeah, you got it." And I'm like, "Yeah, okay, Nicole, it was kind of a dream. It could have been a dream." Like, "No, it's not. This dude's after you." I'm like, "What?" So there we go.
Didn't we find out what that dude was? Isn't he considered the Black Hats? He's part of the Black Hats.
Yeah, well, I mean, that might be a future podcast. I mean, we're going way deep.
Yeah.
But
this was your first experience.
Yeah. And we are reaching that limit of time. But like that, it was an unusual experience where okay. We're going way too deep. I'm going to stop there with what I want to say, but we can bring it up in different shows.
Okay.
Because it has to do with quote unquote the enlightened self, which I think needs to be its own podcast.
Okay, but let me just say, this was your first quote unquote experience with that kind of realm, and that's where it went. And so for anyone out there who's not who hasn't ever experienced this before, this is what you're capable of experiencing. It's not like you have to be in a cave meditating, fasting, praying to Buddha or Allah or whoever it is that you want to pray to, and completely like segregate yourself off from the world. It can just happen to you when you start to kind of quote unquote wake up and pay attention. So, no, we don't need to go too deep into what it is, but the reality is that this was your experience. So
fair enough.
Like I want to ask you, when you say you felt the hairs like stand up on your body, were you physically awake when that was happening? Or were you still in that dream state?
I woke up from that halfway dream state. And my hairs were physically, it wasn't like a mental thing. Like your body reacts to your dreams. Your physical body, I mean, good and bad, react to your dreams. Read between the lines. But
True point.
So that if there's legitimate fear in your nightmares, there's legitimate fear in the visions that you see that many people call dreams, your body will react. That's why people wake up in cold sweats.
Were you sleeping or were you sitting? Were you like lying down? Like where? Like how were you?
I was sleeping. I was
lying on your bed.
I mean, it was at night. I was attempting to breathe and sleep. And
did you say you felt energy come through you? Like you jumped?
I just felt like it's hard to explain, but I just felt like it was the most evil thing ever. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Which makes me think, why am I dabbling with this? Why don't I just go back to like watching 24-hour news and go back to
exactly, and that is what is wanted of you. That is what is wanted.
I can do that. I'm gonna go drink some tequila and watch Fox News or MSNBC right now as we speak.
Well, I'm gonna jump in here with when you start to raise your vibration and you start to become more connected and start to ascend and have these ascension symptoms, which I don't know if we talked about ascension
I don't think
yet.
Yeah, that's a little bit.
We can talk about that here in a sec, but things are going to start bubbling up for you, maybe some negative things that you need to release and get rid of.
Yeah, people are saying it's like purging. It's like you're just you're just starting off on you're detoxing the crap out of you and
yeah, it's like detoxing your body. Like maybe you're gonna go to the bathroom more. Sweat stuff out or whatever. There's a way that your body releases and gets rid of those toxins. And when you're spiritually evolving, you also need to get rid of that negativity and those beliefs. And so they may come up as dreams like that, or maybe they'll come up as fears or depression, or maybe you'll just be tired all the time. But our body and our soul has to release that somehow. It doesn't just stop happening. You don't, like we talked about before, you don't suddenly just become blissful and happy all the time. You've got to release and get rid of that stuff. So, I mean, I know after my divorce, I got rid of a lot of stuff that I've been holding on to for so long through my dreams. And I just, for like the first year just kept the dreams went from being like scary kind of violent dreams where I would wake up in the middle of the night like crying, to where I started to kind of work stuff out with my ex-husband in my dreams. It was just like my dreams were a place that I could go to start releasing and letting go of a lot of the stuff that I wasn't able to release and let go of while I was married, and so that's going to happen. I mean, I think that's a great sign that if something like that happens, it's being brought to your awareness.
That's what Nicole and our friend Tiffany was preaching to me, and like, great sign. My goodness, it was a sign, all right.
And even bad dreams can be a good sign. It's like that you're letting go of stuff.
Well, think of it this way: when we talked about frequencies and the emotions and where they resonate at those frequencies, like you can't take all your fears and your judgments with you when you're starting to raise your vibrations and you're trying to go up in that way. You can't take them with you. So they're going to have to come out. And the only way that they're going to come out is for you to release them. And oftentimes we have to kind of feel them and let them out. So there'll be many times where as you kind of go through this, I know I've experienced it several times and I'm just like, what the fuck's going on with me? Where I just, I'll be so angry all of a sudden. I don't know why I'm angry. And I don't know, it could be at someone, at no one, at something, at nothing. And I think I've completely gone back in my whole spiritual development. I'm like, why do I feel like I'm like regressing right now? But then you read about ascension symptoms, which I think we don't even need to really talk about now. We'll talk about that in another podcast, but it's all about raising your vibrations. And as you do, you need to release all of these fears, beliefs that don't serve you anymore, resentments, judgments, hatred, all that stuff that you just can't take with you when you start to go up in the frequency and you want to have more joy in your life. If you just want to be a better version of yourself and have more happiness and live a more joyous life, you can't take that stuff with you. So it's got to come out.
Right.
Yeah.
Agreed.
So it's like think of it like a virus that needs to be released from the bloodstream. It's like that's the same thing with our emotions and our beliefs and things that we've lived through, traumas, if you want to call them that. In our past, you got to let them go. It's why when you hold on, I think we talked about that, how like holding on to resentment, it's like poison, Did we talk about that last time? I don't know.
Yes, we
no,
did.
I think you and I, did we talk about it? Because I remember me and you, Nicole, speaking specifically about that. I can't remember if it was in the show though.
Oh, okay.
You know what? We talked, Nicole, on your TLC, show that you do with Tiffany. On Sunday, you guys talked about when you hold on to something, it's like the potato that festers.
That's right.
That's where you spoke of it.
Yeah. So when you hold on to resentment, when you hold on to, so Tiffany gave a great visual of like holding on to your resentments is like carrying a sack of potatoes around. The more you carry them around, eventually they're going to start to rot. And what happens when they rot? Like they just start to like get gooey and black and oozy, and they smell, and they like, you don't want to have them around you. And that's what resentment turns into in your body, like on a cellular level. So when you release it, you feel lighter, you feel better about yourself. You just need to let go. You don't want to carry that shit with you for the rest of your life, because the only person it's harming is yourself. So it's kind of like that with all the lower frequency energies.
Which is why there's confession in the Catholic Church.
To let it go.
Let it go. I believe there's a Disney movie about that too.
Well, David Hawkins, that wrote Power vs. Force, also wrote a book called Letting Go, which is
Stephen Hawkins.
No, it's David.
David.
Oh, is it David? Gosh.
Yeah, there is a Stephen Hawkins who's a scientist, but he didn't write that book.
Oh, okay.
Oh, this is David, his long lost brother. You need to know about.
I thought it was Stephen Hawkins as well. I got confused, but no.
I think we hit our time limit, but I think we did a good job of explaining everything.
I think so.
Way. Yeah.
Well, good. I think we touched on the topics that we wanted to today, and we've, got some more to talk about maybe next time, like ascension symptoms.
Yeah, I think if there's anything that I can say just to kind of wrap it up and kind of touch on is that if you are someone who is interested in what's maybe beyond what we can see in front of our faces right now, whether it's through your meditations or just in your waking world, you need to be open. You need to be willing to see it. If you close yourself off and judge everything you see as just imagination in the negative sense, or that's just my mind playing tricks on me, then you're never going to allow yourself to fully experience it. And that's where you have to own it. So if you really want to open yourself up and see it, you have to drop the beliefs of it's just my mind playing tricks on me. Oh, it's just my imagination going crazy. And it's okay to drop your beliefs, even if it's for one day so you can experience it, because your beliefs can still be there the next day. Grab onto them, bring them back in, and they're yours to keep, But if you really want to experience it, you have to be willing to let go of certain beliefs that we've been taught, and that's all with judgment. So just be the witness. Be the witness. Be willing to be open to what may come. Maybe nothing will come. Maybe something will come. Just be open to it.
And pay attention. I think we did talk about that before, about just, paying attention, living in the moment. Living in the moment. That's living in the now and paying attention to nature around you, things that are being said, feelings that you're having. Our minds are racing all the time. We just, pay attention to what's going on.
And the other thing I would add to this, just and on my side, is your beliefs. Your beliefs are not your religion. Those are two different things, in my opinion. The religion that you're in versus the beliefs that you believe. Because everybody there's a lot of people out there that are into religions, but they have a certain way they translate the religion that they're in. And some are very spiritual, and some are not. For example, I just got done visiting my grandmother yesterday. It was like a very entertaining couple hours of both of our lives, I'd like to think. And she's she's very super Catholic. She's 94 years old.
Wow.
And she's like so ready to quote unquote pass on. And she's like, Michael, I'm just ready. I'm just ready to and she so spiritually believes what's going to happen to her next that it's almost like a peaceful, like if she passes away, it'll be like more of a celebration than a sadness. But she told me some interesting things just yesterday. And she told me about how she had a conversation with somebody about a week or two ago, and she could not remember where her grandmother was from, originally from. She's like, I just can't remember where Glendora was from. And she goes, that night, she preludes it with Michael, I get messages all the time at night. I'm like, oh, interesting.
Wow.
Yeah, no, and I'm like, interesting. She goes, you think I'm crazy, or you think I'm weird, or the rest of my kids think I'm weird. I'm like, no, do tell, go on. and she's like, well, Glendora, my grandmother came in and said, I'm from Indianapolis, Indiana. Get it right.
Oh my!
Literally that night.
Wow.
And but she was very entertaining because again, she is very Catholic, but she's very spiritual too. Where I meet a lot of Catholics that don't even know what spirituality really means, and I'm kind of somewhere in between, I like to think. But that she is talking a language that you guys have kind of are currently teaching me, and it's very entertaining to hear my 94-year-old grandmother talk about these experiences that she has in the random times of the day.
That's awesome. I love that.
Awesome.
Anyway, so that's why I'm saying, just because when people say, what's your belief? We automatically go, well, I'm Lutheran, I'm Presbyterian, I'm Jewish, I'm things like that. No, what is your belief? That's what I want somebody, if they're going to ask me what my belief is, I'm going to tell you what my belief is, not what the Catholic belief is, not what the Jewish belief is, what my belief is. And I think that's a very important thing for people to understand your beliefs. My beliefs are different than Lisa's. Lisa's may be different than even Nicole's. But we're trying to talk about different belief systems and seeing where we agree on, I would imagine.
Where they overlap.
Yeah.
Well, and I think it's also important to say that,
and help expand.
Your beliefs can change at any time. What you may believe today, you may not believe tomorrow, and that's okay. It doesn't change who you are. I think that's where sometimes it hurts us when we identify ourselves with our beliefs, when we are not our beliefs. But, I think it's kind of nice to know, like for instance, yesterday I believed that coffee was no good for me, but today I was like, I think coffee might be a really good thing for me today. So, you have that ability and that choice to choose differently whenever you want. And that's the spirit of limitless living and being, the limitless self that we're supposed to be. So, but yeah, I'm going off topic now, so I'll stop.
I think it's a good way of
I would like to talk about beliefs. I would like to cue that up for one of our next episodes, and just, how our core beliefs keep us from really experiencing the fullness of our lives.
Awesome.
How they're dumbing us down.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Well,
topic. Good ending.
Okay, so for all our listeners out there, if you have topics that you'd like us to touch on, can you please email them to us at info@enlightenup.us or at our Twitter. You can send us the questions through Twitter. Our account is @enlighten_up. up us. And we'd be happy to bring that onto the show. We'd love to answer questions or hear topic ideas. If you liked what you heard today, please subscribe to our iTunes podcast, or please rate us. We are needing more ratings because that's what helps separate us from all of the rest of those spiritual podcasts out there. And if you haven't yet, you can follow us on Instagram and Facebook. And of course, if you need any information or want to learn more about us, you can go to our website, enlightenup.us. So I think that's it for today. I love today's podcast. This was a great one. So until next time, we'll be back.
Goodbye.
Bye.
All right, later.
Love you guys.